Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us on our 124th episode of the podcast, where we get a chance to talk to Coach Lane Burroughs. Coach Burroughs is the head coach at Louisiana Tech. It's his 7th season guiding the Bulldogs. He's had back-to-back NCAA Regionals, first regional since 1987. 2021 was the first time in program history that they hosted a regional. First time in program history they were Conference USA tournament champions. Set the record for most conference wins. First time in program history that they beat a number one ranked team. He's won over 300 games as a head coach. He's got more wins in his first 3 years at La Tech than any coach in a three-year span. He is the former head coach at Northwestern State, where he led them into 3 straight 30-win seasons. He's also been a former assistant coach at Mississippi College, East Mississippi Community College, Northwestern State, Southern Miss, Kansas State, and Mississippi State. Coach Burroughs, we get a chance to have a great conversation. Really fortunate to be able to talk to a great coach, and Coach Burroughs. Touch base about his culture. Just a full, transparent conversation. Here they are, Easter weekend. After Easter weekend, just touching base about how the realistic part of where he's at in the season. It's really cool perspective to hear. And he talked about being transparent, and you can feel he's a real guy, and it's impactful. And I really enjoyed our time together, and I hope you do as well. And like I said, culture. He touches base on how he's deal with adversity, the things that they're working on. Our identity as coaches. We touched base about that. It's hear his perspective, and how he made a commitment. He made a commitment to making everyone have baseball being the best part of their day. And I made a commitment about that. It's just really great things. And I can't wait till you guys hear it and hopefully enjoy it. Really thankful for our sponsors as well. Netting Professionals. Netting Professionals are improving programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals specialize in the design, fabrication, installation of custom netting for backstops, batting cages, dugouts, scoreboards, BP screens, and ball carts. They also design and install digital graphic wall padding, windscreen, turf protectors, dugout benches, dugout cubbies, and more. Netting Professionals continue to provide quality products and services to many recreation, high school, and college fields, facilities, and stadiums throughout the country. Contact them today at 844-620-2707 or info@nettingpros.com. Visit them online at www.nettingpros.com or check out Netting Pros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for their latest products and projects. So big shout out to Will Miner and those guys at Netting Pros. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and enjoy the great conversation with head coach of Louisiana Tech, Lane Burroughs.
You know what? It's a big event, man. We had about 1,000 people, and it's a big fundraiser for us. We do every year, and obviously coming off 2 regionals, everybody's fired up, and it was. We actually had to move it. We used to have it we call it the Davison Athletic Complex over the football facility, and real nice room, but it only holds about 400 people. So we actually had to move it to our Thomas Assembly Center, which is our Coliseum, our basketball arena. So it's growing. So we had to, that's a good thing, a good problem to have, I guess.
For sure. What a great problem to have. Wow. You have to move to the basketball Coliseum.
Yeah, it ended up being a great event, man. It was awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We do it a little different. We don't it's not like, the chicken dinner, and we have fun with it. Our players do video, we call it award show, and they make fun of everybody, and they make fun of the coaches, and they act like us, and we make them introduce each other and say something interesting, funny about that person. And we do a Where Are They Now segment. It goes by pretty quick, and it's fun. It's entertaining. It's not like your normal. I never have a guest speaker because you always have to babysit that person, pay them, and sometimes they can go long. So it just kind of runs itself. So it's kind of a different. When I was at Mississippi State, that's the way Cohen ran it, and I kind of took that with me, and I think people enjoy it.
So Cohen ran it. So that's where. So ever since you were at Louisiana at La Tech, and you've done it the same way since you left Mississippi
Oh
State.
yeah. Even when I went to Northwestern State, we did it like that there, and we've done it the same way here. Yeah, and I think it's really a good deal. Everybody always says that was the best event we've been to on because it's just we have fun with it. Everybody has a good time. One thing our guys do a great job with as part of our culture too, man, is we get out. We're going to be a face and a part of the community as far as when we do camps or our first pitch banquet. I mean, they're schooled on you're going to shake hands, you're going to act interested in the stories that all the older people are telling you, and you're going to introduce yourself, look them in the eye, and I'm telling you, it goes a long way. We've broken season ticket sales every year since I've been here, 7 years, not because of me, but I think success helps, but I think it's more than that. I think our guys are like rock stars, man, in this town. It's just because the way they act and the way they engage with our fans and our season ticket holders. And then when we have our banquet, it just takes it to another level because our guys are a big part of it. And, it's very relaxed atmosphere, and it's more like going to a show or something. It's really fun, a date night, and people, the way our guys, they kind of carry the whole program, man, and our people love it.
How much? I mean, it just sounds like it's an event that you really have to prepare for. Like, how much are you preparing guys for this, or do they have time to do it, or is it like how involved are you in the preparation of all that?
Well, I'll tell you this: it ruins my Christmas every year. That's what I tell my wife. It's like, here we go. You get to Christmas, and I'm like, I'm getting sped up, and me and her, because me and her always usually did it. Now we have a group of moms that literally and dads, they jump in too. There's a couple of them of our parents of our players, and I kind of did a committee, and they take it and they run with it. I mean, we got people involved that I kind of just step back, and my wife still spearheads it, but it does, man. You start preparing in November and with the food and all that kind of stuff, and then we're on Christmas break. We're pulling out all the old decorations, and the main thing that stresses me out is the video stuff because our players do the video award show, and it never fails. They wait. We're about 2 weeks out, and I'm like, hey, you guys need to knock it out, man. And they'll come up here one night and do it. And they always do a great job. And we do a crib thing as well, so they'll pick one of our players, either house or apartment where a lot of them live, and they'll do like a cribs episode, spin off of the old MTV thing, and they always make it funny. So that makes it most stressful to me is when we get back and I'm trying to get them to do their part. You know how that goes. They'll procrastinate, but they always get it done and seem to do a good job.
So the video award ceremony. So as you're putting them all together, so it's such a cool. Because I can even see this at the end of the, like a lot of guys will have like end of the year banquets as well. Can you explain? Yeah. Like, can you tell me like, do you have different awards for everybody, or like?
Well, I let the players pick it. The seniors, they run the video. Like this year, and we usually give out 5 awards, and I have to run it by me, obviously, because it's a family. So we'll have, worst hair on the team, those type of awards, or worst body, or worst athlete, or, if somebody did something funny earlier in the year, they'll spin off that. That's kind of an inside joke. So it's not necessarily good awards what you want to get, but it's funny. We tell our guys, you got to have thick skin, man. We're like a family. We're gonna bust on each other. Like we had a kid, a freshman pitcher this year. We had the weekend off, and he went down to LSU Alabama football game, and somebody stole his wallet, so he had hit a wall and broke his hand, and so he got the I guess the boxing award or the Muhammad Ali, I can't remember the name, but our guys they do that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun. Our guys that oversleep and late for weights or miss class, they'll give and the good thing is you have nominees, so it'll show their picture up there, and they usually try to find a picture on social media from a long time ago, something that's embarrassing, and yeah, man, it's pretty funny. They do a good job with it, but they keep it clean.
Right. Sure. Sure. No, that's hilarious. So you get five, like, are your awards that you give, like, are they the serious ones, or they are all just
Oh well,
picking
no,
fun?
no, just making fun of people
Okay.
and having a
Okay.
good time with it. Yeah.
That's
And
super
what
cool.
they'll do is the players will, when they're videoing it, each one player will play me, and I let them use our offices, and they'll do a spoof on me and make fun of me and things I do, and then they'll do all the assistants. So, like the assistants, the coaches are actually the ones saying your nominees are, but it's actually a player acting like us. So the whole thing's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I really like how it's player led too. That's really cool. Well, like you said, they're the ones that's best with this video too.
Yeah, and I mean they're being creative, man. That's a good thing. You see when you see them, because they always have to see it to make sure it's clean. They didn't do anything, and when I'm watching it with them, it's amazing how creative these dudes are. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy that really spearheaded it this year, Jonathan Fincher, he's been our Friday night guy for 5 years. He's in his 6th year and already got a degree and a master's and going to go to medical school. And literally, he put together. We were a week out, and he was in the press box where I'm sitting right now, um, putting together this video. I mean, he did it. I mean, it was like a Hollywood production thing. Like it was like one of, as far as music, and it's not just like something, a piece of garbage. It is. You would think a professional did it, and then he did that up here, went down and threw in the inner squad, threw about 3 innings, shut out, and then came back up and finished it. So, but the creativity, man, it's unbelievable.
Wow, that is super cool. That is super cool. So it sounds like just as you're tight knit, and here you are. This is your first pitch banquet. It happens probably in January before you get rolling. How is it? It sounds like your culture is so important to you. Like, how have you how have you gotten to that point? Especially with, like, let's say you're a freshman. How do they get to that point where here they are ragging each other and accepting these awards and all that? It's really seems like it's a very like you said, a family.
Yeah, look, our program is player ran. I mean, we tell every recruit and their parents that. I mean, we obviously you got the coaches, and everything starts and ends with me because I'm the head coach. But our players, look, just like for instance, yesterday was Easter, and I texted one of our leaders and said, "Hey, do you want to lift in the morning, or do y'all want to lift after practice?" And he's like, "After practice." So he checks there. So just simple thing. Our players, they run the program, and I think it's made our culture extremely strong. It's those young guys come in, and we, from the first meeting of the year, we lay it out. I mean, it's a 2-hour meeting, and it's a 60 slide PowerPoint of everything from A to Z, and what we're about, the family, and those guys. That's the beauty of it is, when by the time the guys that are the leaders graduate or get drafted and move on, those young guys, they know. I mean, and that to me, and I tell them that's one of the greatest things about coaching is you see these young men come in, they're boys, let's be honest, and
Mm-hmm.
they're green and they're tiptoeing around and they're worried about what the coach thinks, and I use humor a lot. By the way I grew up, I kind of grew up crazy. We can get into that later. And instead of dwelling on stuff, I like to use humor, and sometimes it can be sarcastic, and you'll see it. The older guys will be laughing, and the younger guys are like, "Is he serious?" And and it's great to see them. But within 4 years, they're the guys laughing, and the younger you guys are like, "Is he being serious right now?" But that's who we are, and it's a very player-driven program, and they run the show, man. And I call them in and meet with them all the time, our leaders, and they keep the clubhouse in check. And I never go in our locker room ever.
Wow.
If I ever go in the locker room, we have a great facility. We had the tornado in 19; it tore up our place, and fortunate to have this beautiful facility. And we got a classroom. Our coaches' offices are upstairs and overlooking the field, and then the locker room, players' lounge, and training room, and hitting facility is all downstairs. And I don't know why. If I come in the locker room, it gets really quiet. And I tell them, though, that's your space, man. If we're in the locker room and I'm in there, it ain't good. It means it's about to get hairy in there. It's maybe we didn't play well, but I just firmly believe it's that's their space, and we don't need to be in there hanging out with them. They need to be able to talk freely and you know, as we speak right now, we're struggling. We're not having a great year to our standard. We're 500, and you know, we were picked to win the league, so we're dealing with adversity. And I walked by after a tough loss about 3 weeks ago on Saturday. I actually didn't. I was doing media, but our assistants up in our locker room said you would be proud of one of our players who I didn't think, honestly, was a real leader. They said he was letting them have it, and he'd been in our program for 4 years, and they said he was crying and he's one of our smaller guys as far as physical stature. And they said they went in to make sure and said everybody was, I mean, they were locked in on him, and it was a passionate, you know, plea to play better, and we got to do better. And you know, I just think that's why we kind of stay out of there. You know, it's I think that's their space, and they need to have that a place where they can vent and have player only meetings and things like that.
I guess you mentioned like how you texted one of your leaders. Is that kind of how you're with not going in there, and how are you able to keep the pulse of the team when they have?
Yeah, we have. I've always called. I played for a guy, Corky Palmer, passed away this summer when I was in junior college, and worked for him at Southern Miss for 9 years. He always called guys company men. You know, he would be like, "Man, we're gonna struggle without so and so next year. He's such a company man." And what he meant by that was, it didn't mean he was our best player. It just meant he was kind of the guy that the glue that held it together, you know, or he showed up every day. He always posted. He played hurt. You never had to worry about him. You never had to talk him into practicing or playing. And so I kind of have brought that with me everywhere I've been. So-and-so's a company man. I've always said that. Well, about 4 years ago, 4 years ago after the tornado, you know, just we don't have a facility for 2 years. We're practicing at the high school park. We don't have a locker room. We're trying to recruit. And it's tough. And then that rolls into COVID. So you're sitting there with all this adversity and you don't even have a home.
Right.
And we got a good program. You know, it ain't like we're not where we are now, but we have a really good program. We've been ranked multiple times, right on the cusp of going to regionals. And I just decided to do something different. We call them Bulldog men. And every year at the banquet, it's kind of a big deal. We don't call them captains. We name Bulldog men. And I kind of wanted to do it like the Yankees, where we don't name captains or Bulldog men every year. I mean, we went a couple of years, didn't even name any, but I've named them actually Bulldog men after they left, as a matter of fact. But it's kind of a big deal. If you're named a Bulldog man, you're a captain for life. And then at the banquet, you're presented with a huge picture of yourself in action and a game action. I mean, and it's done really well. And all those pictures hang in our classroom with the signed Bulldog men over it. I mean, it's a big deal now. And I've had guys literally recruiting tell me they want to come here because they want to be a Bulldog man. And, you know, so it's really that simple. And when like times like now, I'm calling the Bulldog man or texting them, come to my room or come to the office. What do we need to do? And it's guys you can lean on. Doesn't necessarily mean they're our best players. It just means they're dudes that they show up every day. They keep everybody in check. You know, that young man I was talking about earlier that was pleading with our team, and he's not a Bulldog man, but he probably will be next year. And just things like that I would have never seen that our assistants happen to walk by. But yeah, it's a captain for life, and we don't do it every year. You know, it was amazing. We go those 2 years without the facility, and then the year we opened this facility, and it's still post COVID, but you know, they're not letting a lot of people in, and the facility's really not done. And that's the year we hosted. You know, we go 2 years. And one thing I tell Trey, all our recruits and their families is culture's a buzzword, family's a buzzword. We use it, we all do, and it's to us. All I can tell you is we went 2 years without a field or a home, and nobody left. We had 4 All-Americans: Jonathan Fincher, Parker Bates, Hunter Wells, Taylor Young. You know, and 2 of those young men are in pro ball now, climbing their way up the ladder in minor league baseball. And none of those guys left, man. It's they stayed with us, and they were rewarded. We hosted a regional for the first time in school history, and then went to a regional last year and won the league the last 2 years. We won, which had not been done. As I'm looking out over our field, there's conference championships, 1992. The next one was when 2021 regionals. 1987. The next one was in 2016. And, one of our outfielders one day he said, what was going on between 87 and 16, coach? I said, not a lot, apparently. But my point is those guys, they stayed with us, and it would have been easy to go, you know what? We live in a day and age where guys are free to leave and be eligible. And we had 4 All-Americans. It didn't like we didn't have good players. Those guys could have went anywhere they wanted, and they'd have played. And they stayed with us, man. And there were, Trey, if we're being transparent, and there were days I pulled up in my pickup to the high school field, and it's muddy, and I'm watching our managers trek equipment and machines, and I'm like, I don't know if I can get out of this truck, man. That's a year and a half of this. And I would hear our guys out there hitting at noon. Like, they pulled me out of my truck, and the work ethic went through the roof. I mean, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? We don't have anywhere to go hang out. You go work. And I think that in adversity, and I think it's helping us right now because, since I've been the coach here for 7 years, we've never been in a situation. We've never been in the middle of the year 500, and it didn't like this team didn't have expectations. And I think we're all learning something about ourselves and getting through this and not stopping. And, it's like we keep telling our guys that be who we are. I have a saying that when you're recruiting at a high level, and I tell every recruit this and their parents, when you're recruiting at a high level and you're having success, you get who you are. You're attracted to us because of who we are, and we're attracted to you because of what you are, and if it's a fit or not, if it's a match, immediately.
Yep.
My evaluation starts as a head coach when you stick your hand out to me. Did you shake my hand right? Did you look me in the eye? And there's been a lot of days that I've been sitting there about to talk about the scholarship, and scholarship goes right back in my desk because it's not who we are. And talk about player driven. I give our guys on visits. They tell us, Coach, he's not one of us, or he is. This guy 100%. And I know I'm rambling here, but just trying to give you a synopsis of our culture and who we are. And it's very player driven, and I feel like our culture's really, really strong.
Well, it speaks volumes. I mean, I got it bolded, like you went 2 years. And like you said, with this day and age, you went 2 years with no facility and no one left. Like, it's incredible. It's an incredible statement. Even from in terms of probably the newer guys that you had, and guys that just work. So like, man, like what is it maybe that they all went through that together and they were all like going and seemed like guys were buying into just, we're going to get through this together. And that's why they didn't leave.
Well, there's no doubt. I think too, I think they like it here, man. And, I can be a handful. Trust me. I can be tough and I can be hard to play for sometimes. But when I became a head coach in 2012, 13, look, I left the program that I was at Mississippi State for 4 years, and we had just won the SEC tournament. I got an opportunity to go back to Northwestern State, where I was an assistant years before, and worked under Dave Van Horn, Rob Childress, John Cohen, while I was there at Northwestern as an assistant. But got a chance to go back and be a head coach, and we went 16-40, man, and we didn't have any rainouts. I tell that story and everybody laughs. No rainouts. 16-40. We were no good. I'm questioning what did I do. And meanwhile, the team I left, Mississippi State, they're on TV playing for a national championship against UCLA, and it was tough. I mean, I'm proud of and happy for those guys and those coaches, but the selfish side of me is going, really? I left to go 16-40, and I have to sit here and watch the team that me and Butch Thompson essentially and Nick Mingione put together, play for a national championship. And, that took 5 years off my life, and I'm not getting to enjoy it. And, you kind of have to check yourself and reevaluate what's important to you and why you're really doing this. But, yeah, it's I don't even remember the question you asked. I got to rambling again, but yeah.
I love it.
Nobody left. It's what we were talking about. And I just think, I know what we were talking about. I made a commitment at that point. Look, I want our guys and I want our coaches to have fun, man. I've been in programs as a coach, as a player, and you pull up to the facility and you're like, whoa, I don't really want to go in there. And that's a bad feeling. And I just made a commitment, after that first year as a head coach. It's miserable. And I'm like, I want our players and our coaches, no matter what, I don't care what our record is, I want them to pull up to this facility and I want them to enjoy it and have fun. I want this to be the best part of their day. If it's not, then we're not doing something right. And honestly, I think we've done a good job with that. Again, I know I can be a handful and I can be tough and I can, they'll avoid me, trust me on certain days. But I think to a man, if you ask them, they'll tell you we treat them like men, we treat them right. And that they like coming to work. They like coming to practice. They like coming to the games. And I don't think it's ever a time where they feel like they dread coming to the baseball field.
So that was the big change, like you said, from Northwestern to where you were at La Tech, was just the commitment to just making it the best part of their day.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's my first year as a head coach. You're going, wow, I should have stayed as an assistant. Can I really do this? I mean, you know, I can tell you a little story this year as coaches. I'm 50 years old. I turned 50 in December, and I've been doing this for 27 years. This is my 27th year, and I've seen it. I've seen a lot. And earlier this year, we were playing a team that was kind of scuffling, and they have a new coach, and it's a very, very, very good coach, very prominent, has had a ton of success, and you know, we were both kind of going through the same type of year, and we just got talking on Sunday, and I let it all out, man. You know, I mean, we all have insecurities, but we don't like to show them. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that first year head coach, I'm like, can I do this? It's been as easy as I thought it was going to be. I'm not quite as good as I thought I was. And you kind of get checked, and you know, you lean on your faith, you lean on your family, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. Even right now, you know, as me and you talk, it's not going great, but I'm here for a reason. The good Lord led me here. Even during the tornado ravaged 2 years, I'm going, really? But there's a reason. I was the one chosen and picked to be here at that time, and I think we all are. You're where you're supposed to be at that time, and for a reason. It's not just by chance. But anyway, me and this guy were having a talk, and he told me after the game, he said, look, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you opening up and just talking to me. He said, because, you know, you look, I said, hey, man, we all strut around and posture and act like we got it all figured out. When in reality, none of us do. And I think he even texted me on the way home. He said, man, I've been really struggling, and I can't thank you enough. And you know, to me, I'm going, that was worth the trip of going to play them, is having that talk. And I know coaches throughout have helped me. And I just think sometimes we all get in, you know, it's intense mode and competitive mode, which you need to be in. But I think sometimes we give off this vibe, we got it figured out and but in reality, we don't. And I think it's good coaches lean on each other, and we should do more of that, you know, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I think that's a big part of our program as well. I tell our guys, I'm real with them, man. I don't hold anything back. And I think sometimes when they see vulnerability and transparency, I think it helps. And it's no different than going to church. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear the preacher up there telling me how great he is and how bad I am. I want to hear the guy that's been redeemed and has faults. And okay, well, that guy's like me, you know. And I think that's really important, and we do that in our program.
How do you do? So like, I know, and I honestly think like nowadays is like, and I think kids have always done, but like it's a big deal for kids to know if someone's fake now. Like you're not going to be able to fake that. And I think it really turns people off as well. So I think it's such a even bigger. It's not you're just going to respect me because I'm the older now. Like it's a little bit of like you're also got to be a little bit real as well. And those guys also, I think, like you're doing a program, they're doing everything they can for you.
Well, there's no doubt. Look, these kids are smart, man. I got 2 daughters in college, and my son's 15. He's in 9th grade, and kids are smart. You know, we all love to talk about how different the kids are now, and it's a different time. I mean, we're different than our parents. I mean,
You're right.
Kids are always going to be different. It's gonna happen as long as the world's here. But they're smart, you know, and they're paying attention. And they're watching you. You know, I was telling a guy I was visiting with one of my good friends, Travis Wyckoff, the other day, and you know, I try to make just one of the things that I told him and shared with him was it never fails. I try to stay real stoic when I'm coaching in the third base box if a kid strikes out or he doesn't get a bunt down. I do not react, and I'll tell you why it never fails. If a kid punches out in a big moment and I've got my sunglasses on, I always cut my eyes to our dugout, and every kid in the dugout immediately turns and looks at me every time.
Yeah.
They're looking to see how I'm going to react. Like, what's he going to do? What is he about to flip out? And, so they're watching. Sometimes they give you the vibe they're not paying attention or listening to you. But look, our guys know all about me. I grew up crazy, and I let them know that. My mom was married 6 times, my dad 4. I've had 20 step half brothers and sisters, but I'm an only child. I tell that story all the time, try to figure that out. And I was really the only person in my family that was into sports. None of the people, so I found out quick that, hey, I can run a football and I can score touchdowns and I can steal bases and get base hits, and people like me now. All of a sudden I'm cool. And I kind of grasped onto that and became my identity. And I was not trying to be that guy, first person, but I really was. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. I went to junior college, and that's where I hooked up with Corky Palmer and Scott Berry, man. And those dudes became my mentors, my brothers, my second dad. And I knew right then I want to coach. It's what I want to do. I want to do what those guys are doing, making a difference. And I would do anything to get a pat on the back or a compliment from a coach. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
That was the world to me. And those guys know that about me. I tell stories about my upbringing all the time. I was telling one Sunday or Saturday before we left the hotel in our scouting report. I kind of sensed I sensed us being a little tight. We're 500 right now, and this program, our older guys, you can see it, man. They're tense, and they feel like they're going to be the team to not go to the regional or break the streak, or that we're going to be remembered as. And I kind of told a story from my upbringing, and and they all started laughing. But I share those things with them. I'm open with them, and I think they appreciate it. That Coach Burroughs ain't got it all figured out. He ain't some perfect guy up there on a pedestal. He's one of us, and there's nothing. I always tell them, look, you can come see me. I tell my own kids, they know. I mean, you can come talk to me about anything. I can assure you, there's nothing you can put on my desk or tell me that I hadn't seen or already dealt with. You're not going to shock me. I can assure you. So I think, for them to know that, I think it helps with our family and our culture oriented program, that they know they can walk in. We have a rule: bad news first, kind of mafia-ish. It's the bad news first. I don't want to find out about bad news. We live in a small town, and if I find out before you tell me, and look, our guys do it, man. It's unbelievable. It's if the phone rings at 11:30 at night, I know it ain't good, because they're not calling me to chit chat.
Right.
I have them waiting on me at the office. Hey, I did this or this happened, and I think it's helped us. As a program, they don't. If they make a bad decision, they're in my office. They tell me about it. They know I do not need to hear about it on the street. And I just think that open door policy and that transparency has helped our program flourish.
Yeah, what a great principle for sure. Bad news first. It's also a great thing for your kids to see themselves too. Coach, I was just wondering, because I've just with my upbringing as well. I was first college guy, first kid in my family, for person. The same. My point. I guess I was thinking about you're right. You said kind of your identity was sports, and as you've grown, where you are now, how have when was the switch of kind of where you help change that identity? Is the identity still the same? It's just sports, or is it how have you, I guess, matured and changed through that identity where you just you said, we're doing everything you can to get the coach's compliment, and just identity in sports to where you are now?
Well, I think it's an ongoing process. I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we had a rough weekend not long ago, and my pastor reached out. Hey, I'm here, and I'm here for you if you need anything. And I said, yeah, I'd like to meet with you. You shouldn't have asked. And I'm in his office at 7:00 the next morning, and we're talking, and we talked about that, the identity, and how I grew up, and it's always been my identity. It's not good. It can't be that, because baseball or sports is going to let you down. But I think every coach will tell you to a man, and even athletes, that it's an ongoing process. It's at the end of the day, we're judged by the public by wins and losses. If we are, I mean, it's, you can say, well, he graduated all these people and they're great kids but you know what? He didn't win. We got to get rid of it. So at the end of the day, our jobs are based on how many games we won. And so when that's essentially what you're based on, it's hard for it not to be your identity. And, I think it's an ongoing struggle. It's something I struggle with. I don't know if other people do. I'm sure they do. It's one of those things, just like the other day, Saturday morning, I opened up my devotional and it was about, where's your heart? And it was, John Eldridge was talking about, he had dreamed about this, elk hunt and prayed about it and dreamed about it. I'm reading this going, this is me. You can replace hunt with baseball. And he said, of course, they get there and it rains. There's no elk. They can't sleep. It's cold, and it let him down. It's like, he's laying in his bed going, why is this a disaster? And God tells him, I need your heart back. It ain't about this hunt. And I'm going, yep, there it is. Amazing. That was my devotional right here in the middle of the season, because you have to check yourself and say, hey, whether we win or lose today, I'm still the same person. I got to be the same dad, same husband, the same person in the community. And, and I think through this tough time this year, Trey, I'm learning. I told my pastor that I'm learning a lot about myself, man. If you would have told me before the season, hey, you're going to be 500 at the middle of the season, I probably would have been like, well, I won't be able to deal with that, because we're picked to win the league. We're supposed to have a really good team this year, but here we are, and we are dealing with it. You have to. There's no other choice. And I have a call-in show every Monday night at the doghouse here in town, and trust me, when you're winning, I was telling our team this the other day, when you're winning, like we have the last 2 years, it's easy to strut up in there with your chest out and shake hands, and everybody's patting you on the back. But you got to take the good with the bad. Right now,
Yeah.
it's not so easy to walk up in there, but you got to do it. And it's amazing. When you try to do things right and live your life right. And trust me, I always tell our guy, I'm the most flawed man in the room every time I walk in the room. But it's amazing the amount of text, calls, just, hey, I'm thinking about you, praying for you. I'm getting stuff from people I went to high school with that I hadn't talked to in years. And they're like, hey man, hang in there. You got it. It's like, that's what it's all about. So, these people, those are the real people. They're going to love you no matter what, whether you win a game or lose a game. And I think you need to go through times like we are right now. And we did with the tornado. You find out about yourself, you find out what you're made of, and it's an educational process, no doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's time tested about what adversity brings out of you. And it's just so awesome to hear, 27 years and you're still like, I'm still learning myself. And I think that's just what is so great about you, Coach, just hearing about that. And I think that's what great coaches do. I think great people do. Just successful, like they continue to grow and find themselves and willing to change, learn. I guess the question too is like thinking about, like, you're dealing with young men, especially what they do at 19, 20, 20, like they can make some serious mistakes and they affect them for years. Big mistakes. Is like that identity piece, like you talked about, as being the same person and being the father. So with them is like, how do you bring that into them? How are you teaching them those lessons? Like, is that something that you also bring into the clubhouse, locker room, or a classroom, where you talk about their identity as a player and how the game would bring them down?
Absolutely. We talk about that all the time. It's one of my good friends. He always said baseball is the most self-esteem crushing sport you can play. I mean, it will take your soul if you let it. It's you don't get to get mad and go down on a kickoff and hit somebody. It's not that kind of sport. You're going to have to deal with failure, and it's going to punch you in the face. It is. It's going to. I mean, you look at Tennessee last year; they were by far the best team in the country,
right,
from the beginning to the end. They didn't go to Omaha. I mean, at some point, this game is going to punch you in the face, and how you deal with it's going to mean everything. That's the difference in the guy in Double-A that's throwing 100 and the guy in big leagues is throwing 100. What's the difference? Well, they can deal with failure, and that's what we tell our guys all the time. And one of the things I say in our first meeting every year, you're at a time in your life where the frontal lobe of your brain is not fully developed. Scientists say, I guess, in a male 27 years old is when, and that's your decision making process. And none of you guys that I'm talking to it's not developed. My wife says mine still isn't, so that's my joke. I always tell them, loosen them up, but it's just not where you make decisions. And you're also at a time in your life where you have more testosterone in your body than you ever will ever again.
Wow.
Naturally. So you combine those two things, testosterone, frontal lobe, you're going to have bad decisions. It's just going to happen.
Right.
We've all been there. Believe it or not, I was in college. That's what we tell all your assistants here. They all went to college. They've all been your age. We've all been there. We've all made bad decisions and still do. But you have to fight to. We talk about pride. There's different kinds of pride. These are things we talk about all the time. And pride in your family name, pride in your program, or your school work, your community work, or the bad kind of pride where you're at a party and the guy dares you to jump off a roof into a pool and you say, "Watch this," because you got to prove to everybody that you're tough enough to do it. We can't have that. So yeah, our guys know it's. We talk about it from day one. The ability to make great decisions. In our group text, especially on Thursdays and all through the weekend after I send it out, I always in bold, make great decisions. That's the last thing I put. And because we know it, especially at this age and in a college atmosphere, it's easy. It's easy to make a bad decision, and we'll deal with it. Look, our guys know it's something we talk about nonstop and taking care of each other, just like a family. If you see somebody about to make one, you need to pull them back. And that's one thing we preach from day one is the ability to make great decisions, to communicate at a high level, because communication's a weapon, and to take care of each other, man. That's imperative. If your roommate's not getting up for weight, you got to get him up. I mean, that's part of your job is to take care of each other, and we're all here for each other. And for the most part, I feel like our guys do a great job with it. Yeah, we got knuckleheads. Trust me, we all do, don't we? It's but that's going to do some things over and over. But for the most part, I feel like our guys make good decisions and they take care of each other.
Coach, I was wondering, like, as you talk, so like you've mentioned a bunch of times about like how you guys talk about it and you go over these things and you have from day one. I'm just looking like from a coaching standpoint, like me turning in, like, how can I fit this in my program? When do you make time for those conversations? Is part of your classroom work? And you say you have classroom, like, is it every day part of classroom? Or is it just as needed after games, like before? Like, when do you kind of find time for these conversations?
Every day. We start every day. We'll have early work. This is the fall and the spring when we practice. We'll have early work, which is optional from like 1 to 2, and then at 2:00 we meet in the classroom. That was one of the things when they built the new stadium. I didn't ask for a lot, but I was like, man, I want a classroom. I just want somewhere where we can go and we can do things and talk. And that's where we do scouting report and everything. So every day we meet in the classroom, and it's about a 30 minute meeting. It's usually not long. And in the fall, we do a lot of video review where we'll look at big league clips from games that are going on. Usually in the fall, it's during the playoffs. So everything's that's being played at a high level, whether it's a double cut or moving a runner or dotting a fastball, spotting it up or whatever. I let our pitching coach, he'll pick 5 clips. I let our hitting coach pick 5 clips, and then I'll pick, something from a team standpoint, and we'll show them that. And we'll every play in baseball, there's 8 teachable points, isn't it? 8 to 10. You can teach, there's a million that you can point out, and our guys love it. So that's how we start every day, and we'll actually have them come up dissect it. You tell us what's going on. Y'all run it today, and I think it's an invaluable tool. Our guys love that part of it, and then we'll go out and stretch and start practice. But during that classroom setting, a lot of times we won't do video review. We'll just talk, and we'll maybe something come up. Maybe somebody made a bad decision, or maybe it was a devotional I read that day, or something I read in a book, and this is where we are. This is where I feel like we are right now, and we'll just talk. We'll have players stand up and talk or come up, and I don't like putting people on the spot. I'm just not one of those kind of people. I can't. And I don't like when people put people on the spot and it makes it tough and kind of cringy. So I don't. I don't do that quite often. If I need somebody to speak, I'll usually give them a heads up. I'm gonna need you to say a few words, but yeah, to answer your question, every day we start every day in the classroom, and it may be 10 minutes, it may be nothing, it may be, we don't have a lot today, but and then some days it may be 45 minutes, and we'll have guest speakers a lot to come in and talk to our guys or former players or whatever, and yeah, but we do that. We implement that every day. Talk about, we talked about earlier identity and or whatever it is, whatever feel like the theme is, and if you got a pulse of your team, I feel like we do a really good job of that here, keeping our hand on the pulse of our team and what's going on, and whether it's positive or negative, and building off that.
I was just thinking, Coach, like just going back to the like invaluable experience that I mean, it just with the adversity and toughness, like you having to go to the high school park during that time, because of course you didn't have a classroom then. Was classroom still a part of your was it still as important to you then? Like how did you make classroom during that time where you really didn't have a facility?
That's a great question, great point. And during the fall, when we were at the high school, which we were out there 3 falls,
Okay.
we actually used, the high school has a little locker room, coach's office, and they're not practicing during that time, so they allowed us to use it.
Oh, great.
Essentially, we kind of moved into it. Now, it wasn't anything great, but it was something, and so we had a makeshift TV, and we would plug it up to all our guys that are tech savvy. They'd plug it up, and we would do a video review in there, and it was kind of it was kind of brutal. It made it kind of funny and light because it wasn't great, but we got it done, and we would have our meetings there. But once spring rolled around, it was tough because we didn't have a place. Our locker room was the football visitors locker room. Okay, that's where we dressed, and then our guys would have to get in their cars and drive 10 minutes south of town to the high school field, and it was like high school. I mean, it was, it literally, they would have to get dressed over here on campus, and it was a football locker room, so they never hung out in there. Football locker rooms, baseball clubhouses, a lot different,
Sure.
set up differently, and it's just not a hangout. So they would not hang out in there. So they would get dressed, come down there, and it made it tougher in the spring because we just didn't have a place. The coach's office was one office. We had a round table, and all of us sat at the same table.
Okay.
There were days that would, like, coaches go, "I'm out, man. I can't look at you guys anymore. Just get up and leave. I'll see you at the park." And it made it tough. But you look back on it now, we all laugh about it. Some of the stuff we had to do, but you know what? When you're in the middle of it, it's like anything. When you're in the middle of adversity, and like me saying at the beginning of the year, man, I don't know if I could deal with that. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You got 2 options. It's either surrender or fight, and that there is no other option when you're back in the corner. That's what we tell our guys every day. You're either going to surrender or you're going to fight. And when you're back in the corner, you do it. You get it done. You get up. You go to work, and you do what you can. And I think it created some toughness in our program, and some we do a deal, Appreciation Friday. I think every Friday in the fall, we have what we call Appreciation Friday, where we write a letter of appreciation to somebody who's meant something to our life. Hey, it can be your mom, dad, preacher, teacher, summer league coach, travel ball coach, whatever. You're a Division I athlete. Somebody has sacrificed and made a difference in your life, and it takes 5 minutes to add value to somebody's life. When you're writing a letter of appreciation, we take out the piece of paper and pen. We write it old school. It takes 5 minutes. We're not asking for a dossier. We're asking for a thank you letter that's going to take you 5 minutes. And when that person receives it, it's going to add a ton of value to their life, and it adds value to your life, the writer, because you're doing something. It's like we tell our guys: you ever buy a Christmas present for somebody, you can't wait for them to open it.
Yeah.
And and that's like writing the letter of appreciation. But we do that in the fall every Friday. It's a big deal, and they can do it anytime. We keep the letters in the classroom that guys do. They write letters to different people. But I think that time, my point was, when we didn't have anything, I think my big concern when we moved into this nice, beautiful stadium, I had a little bit of concerns, like, now we went from not having anything to now we got anything we want.
Yeah.
Are we going to become soft? Are we still going to be hungry? And it was like, they had so much appreciation for what they had now. I mean, it was like, it was the greatest thing ever. You could just see it in their eyes, man. Every day, even to this day, we've been in this facility since 21. So this is our third year in the facility. You can see it. I mean, even me, I walk in every day and go, my gosh, I can't believe this is my office overlooking the field. I can't believe that, we sell this place out, season tickets every year. And I can't believe we got skyboxes and the train goes by 5 times a game. It's just a great setting. And I think it took our appreciation level. We already had it in our program, but I think it took it to an even higher level of going from really having nothing to having something that is just outstanding.
Was it something like, was it your kind of forethought of like, we're going to start the appreciation day? Because like, did you know the works of the facility, what was going to be, and say, hey, like, we're going to kind of set this appreciation in now for when we do have this stuff? Like, how was that a little bit of forethought of there? Like where you were going?
The Appreciation Fridays you talking about?
Yeah.
No, we did that. I did not start. John Cohen implemented that at Mississippi State, and I loved it. And when I got the head job at Northwestern State, we did it, and then I brought it here to Louisiana Tech. And I'm gonna tell you something about the Appreciation Friday letters. I get more positive feedback from whether it's a parent or a JUCO coach or a high school coach. And I've actually went into a junior college coach's office one time not long ago, and I was out recruiting, and we had signed about 3 or 4 kids from his program, and he said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he had gotten letters from all of them, and he had them taped up on the wall in front of his desk. And he's like, "Man, it's the greatest thing I've ever got." I mean, it's like unbelievable. And the positive feedback from that, we get more feedback from those letters than anything we do. And I think it adds it's a life skill too, because I tell our guys all the time, appreciation is a lost art in society today. It just is. I mean, we're all guilty of it. Just one of the things we talk about. We're in the South, so I grew up down here, so we say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And some of you didn't grow up here, and I get it. I've lived in the Midwest, and that ma'am and sir isn't always said, but we'd appreciate it if you did that. And I just think that just please and thank you. We make sure we say those things, and even when we stay at a hotel, I love. We got that compliment this week. I love when our ops person says, "Hey, they just wanted me to tell you that's the best team they've ever had. Stay here the way they conducted themselves." Those are the things that matter more than anything, wins and losses. And yeah, it's just those are some things we have in our program that we do, and I think it goes a long way when you're talking about donors and season tickets and people coming to your ball games.
For sure. I mean, I'm sure, especially like right now, like you said, guys are going through a tough time, and you guys aren't, winning and things like that, and guys are still able to handle themselves when they go on the road, and still be productive men.
Well, there's certain parts of your program non-negotiable, whether you win it or lose it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's certain things we are going to do, and I'm sure that's every program out there. Whether you treat people right, whether it's telling the people coming to clean your room thank you, and not just saying that. One of our things is take care of the little things, and they'll say, well, you're asking, what does that mean, coach? Take care of the little things. Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means if I'm in my truck and I pulled up the facility and I see some guys walking in my rearview mirror, and you step over 3 pieces of trash and don't pick it up, that's not taking care of the little things. It's you're basically saying that's not my job. That's the janitor's job. He'll do that or she'll do that. And those are things that we talk about in our program all the time. And that you talked about earlier, the younger guys taking over as they get older. They know things that are going to set me off, and things that I appreciate and I love, and things that are going to get me riled up. And I think that's a part of culture that as long as they know the things that we're supposed to do, and I'll see our guys all the time picking up trash in the parking lot, but they know it's a big part of who we are.
That's awesome, Coach. Hey, Coach, I did have a thought, because I think it's kind of swerving in here to like base like stuff on the field. Is I remember you made a comment about like You talk about like your commitment to making it the best part of it, to making it fun, to enjoy it. Could you give an example of like when, during the time when it wasn't fun for you, like you didn't make that commitment, like what, like think of a difference in like a drill or like a practice, like in practice, like how did you, like, it's doing the same thing, but we made it more enjoyable. Like, could you
Yeah,
think of a way that you did that?
yeah. About 4 weeks ago, we were we were on. We have a Thursday practice routine, whether we're on the road or whether we're at home. Our
Okay.
Thursday practice is an hour and a half. That's it, and we have the same routine. We've been doing it for years. We do, we do individual defense. We take BP, and then we do what we call challenges. We'll have our infielders. They have to turn a double play off fungo and 4-3 or better, or they got to run. For each one they don't, our outfielders all go to right field. They throw one hops to home plate. The catcher has to handle it, put on the tag. Our pitchers turn either 1-6-3s or 1-2-3s, 4-3 or better, and then our catchers have to throw to second base. We don't really time them; just put it on the left side of the bag. So we call those challenges. Ever how many they didn't get right. Let's just say we messed up 7, and then they got 7 down and backs, or they can go double or nothing. And sometimes they'll go double. I'll go, all right, think about it. You may have 14, and then they'll say they get to pick. Hey, it's a double play. These are our infielders, and if they turn it, they go crazy because they don't have to run any. But anyway, saying all that, we're really scuffling about 4 weeks ago. I mean, really scuffling. We got a home series, and I'm looking for anything. And basically, I called the Bulldog men in and said, look, y'all got practice today. It's called a captain's practice. Coaches aren't even going to be there. We'll be here, but essentially y'all got it. And it was fun to watch them from our offices, but they had a blast. I mean, they ended up playing a T-ball game, and we go out that weekend and went to, we play lights out, and they were like, we got practice every Thursday from here on out. I said, that's fine with me. I don't care. I'll go to a movie or something. But just, I think you have to do those things. I went off what we've been doing for years on Thursday to like, hey, I'm open to anything. Y'all do it. Y'all run it. And they literally, they did their normal stuff to get better. But then they literally put a tee at home plate, and the hitters had to hit the other hand so the pitchers could hit. If they're right-handed hitter, they could hit right, but the hitters had to hit the other way, and they had a blast. I mean, they had fun. It was about getting back to having fun, and I think you have to be open to those kind of things. But that's just one example that it literally happened within this past month.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just where, like, you think, like, in the past, like, those kind of opportunities would have never been there.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're actually struggling and going through adversity, you figure out who you are as a coach. You're going to be rigid, or you're going to adapt. You got to have a pulse of your team. I could see it in their eyes, man. They were the way we were playing. They were playing not to lose, and they were not being who they were. Our fall was unbelievable. We had an unbelievable fall. We went and played Auburn. We didn't keep score. We kept score. We didn't. But when the starters came out, we were winning 11-2 after 5 innings, and then we were winning 11-9 after 9. We ended up playing 12. They ended up winning the ball game, but then we go to Monroe, and same thing. I mean, we couldn't have played any better. And you're going, my gosh, we're going to be pretty good. And
yeah.
And opening weekend, our best player, we lose him. Cape All-Star, 80 RBIs, run producer, and our best player, we lose him. Our Saturday guy goes down. Things start happening. You're going, we go from being really deep to, okay, now we're just trying to get a team on the field, whether it's injuries or what have you, or guys just not playing well. And I think you figure out who you are as a coach, man. You're like, okay, I got to dig deep, and I got to have a pulse of the team, and what's going to make every team's different. Every team's different. You got to figure that out. I think that's the biggest part of a coach, is figuring out what makes this team tick and putting them in positions to be successful. It may be letting them have a captain's practice. And I think this type team and their personality that we have this year, I think it was awesome for them. I think it almost, they exhaled and, were able to breathe and say, hey, it's okay that we can go out and have fun playing this game. And I think when you're not having fun, it makes it tough. But yeah, I think as a coach, you just, if everything's good and the season's going great, you're kind of like, wow, not really having to do much, just get out of their way. And I've had those years too, where you just get out of their way and make sure you don't mess it up. But I think when the adversity hits, you kind of figure out what you're all about, and the main thing is keep showing up every day. Show up every day, keep punching, and I think we've done that this year. And I look at it as a positive, and I didn't 3 weeks ago, but now as I talked about earlier, we're all finding out stuff about ourselves, and when we look back, well, I don't know how this season ends. I don't have a crystal ball, but when we look back, whether it's a great story that we were able to write that people will talk about forever, or we just stay what we are. I think you look back on this year, no matter what, and say, I learned a lot about who I was, about myself. And these young men, it's not just lip service. We tell them, look, I told them this a few weeks ago. This ain't pressure. You're in the best time of your life. Man,
right.
You're in college and you're playing ball. I mean, there's going to come a day when you're going to have a wife and kids. They need you to get up and go to work and bring home some money and support them and be there for them, even when you don't feel like it. And that's more pressure than this. It don't get no easier. Life doesn't get easier. And, no matter how this season ends, I think these guys and coaches ever be able to look back and go, learned a lot about who I was and how to get through some tough times.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's stuff there. That's great perspective. And it goes back to that identity part you were talking about, just, showing up every day, be that person. I can even say, like, from mine, like one of the most memorable seasons, like, we were 500 at the JUCO level, and it was like, there was no like, we still fought, and it was just a matter of, like, no one gave in. And you could also tell, like, it spoke a lot of a couple guys that left, or, and it spoke volumes to that person, and the guys who stayed and fought, like, those guys are guys that are guys I would count on right now today, because I know they went through it when it wasn't easy.
Absolutely, man. No doubt about it. I mean, same thing with those kids that went through and we still got some of those kids here that went through those years without the facility when the tornado hit. I mean,
there's like guys, a reservoir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are your guys, man. No doubt. Those are your guys for sure. Man, Coach, like, how, oh man. I think, because, like, there's a lot of high school guys that, facilities, they're not Division I facilities and things like that. Like, what kind of adjustments? Like, because I like talking practice too, man, how did you have to, like you said, you brought in the equipment, things like that. How were you able to make adjustments facility wise with when you had to go to the, like, high school park?
Yeah, I can tell you a funny story about that. The high school field here, it's actually pretty nice. We actually played games on it before we ended the 19 year. We ended up playing, I think, 5 games on it. We had a conference weekend against Western Kentucky on it as well, and then started the next year, and that was when COVID hit. So we only played like 8 games on it. But that's a great question. Where it's located, and I'll intertwine this with a funny story. Where the field's located, it's called the Ruston Sportsplex. So it's a brand new Little League facility. I mean, like, hosted the Dixie World Series a couple years ago and going to host it again this summer. Softball facilities, volleyball, basketball, soccer. I mean, it's just this unbelievable sportsplex out there that is just phenomenal. Well, there'll be days, let me tell you this, in the spring. So now Ruston High School has to practice. So what we would do on the weekends, like Friday, we got inter-squad in January or February. So we would go out. We would take BP at noon. We would leave. We'd bring our guys back up at like 4 or 5 because Ruston has to practice. And we would go down to the Little League fields. So we had this one field called B6. That was meet us at B6. And we would do our in and out. We'd do our individual defense on this little bitty field. We'd do our bunt coverages, first and thirds. And then we would go up to the field when Ruston got done and we'd inter-squad. And that's, you kind of just adapt and adjust. And that's one of the cornerstones of our program. And one of them is adapt and adjust. And it always has been, even before the tornado. You have to have the ability to adapt and adjust, whether it's a rain, it rains and they halt the game and they say, come back and play too. You got to adapt. You got to adjust. Don't even talk about it. And but there was the funny part of this story is true story. We're preseason ranked, and we're out there working on B6 Little League field,
Yep.
and all of a sudden one of the travel teams shows up, all the parents, and I'm like, I think they must have practice here. And it was funny because the news media was out there. It was right before the season started, and so I see the coach, and I go, I say, hey man, y'all got practice? He's like, yeah, we actually do. And I'm like, all right, and I got kids, so I get it. The parents don't want to sit out there all day and all night. So I basically said, hey guys, we got to get off the field. And we got booted off the field by a 12-year-old travel team. So we we actually talk about that all the time. It's like, here we are, man. That kind of keeps it in perspective. We're preseason ranked D1 baseball team, and the 12-year-old Ruston Wildcats just kicked us off the field. So it kind of keeps you in check.
Oh yeah.
Don't let your head get too big. But that's one of the stories. Our guys will still say it today. They'll be like, Coach, we can go back to B6 if we need to. And the day we got ran off. And the funny thing was there was media out there too, so they were able to see it. It was kind of a funny deal.
I think just your ability to really roll with the stuff too, and guys, it is, it's pretty awesome just how you're able to kind of just handle those kind of things. I'm sure not everybody would have handled it as well as what you did there. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. My wife, I started dating my wife. We started dating in 8th grade, if you can date in the 8th grade. So she has said our whole lives, I can handle the bigger things way better than I can the little things. It's like a little thing it'll set me off. But like if it's a big major, it's unbelievable. I don't know why. I guess that's the way the good Lord wired my brain. And it does seem that way though. It's like little bitty things will set me off that doesn't really matter. And then the things that should set me off that I tend to, I'm able to process it better and handle it better. I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, but it does seem to be that way.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've never heard it like that, but I have a very similar in that regard. That's interesting. Yeah. But it's also the little things that make, add up to those big things too. So I can definitely relate to that for sure. Wow, that's really great. I'm just man, it's a great way of saying it. Handle the big things with the little things can set me off. That is for sure. Picking up the trash, I've said it, walking by the balls and you're picking them up. You're not picking up the balls, just little things,
That's right. Correct.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. That's so good. Oh man, Coach, this is great. This is so good. Oh man. So now you're in the new facility. Everything's good. I mean, I know you're going through some tough times, you mentioned, because I'm just thinking about how we've got other guys that have mentioned sort of classroom and different things. Like, will you ever bring in I'm going back to this guest speaker comment you made earlier about that the first pitch banquet, but when it comes to like, let's say, these kind of things or keeping perspective, will you bring in a guest speaker, maybe part in your program at all?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all about the guest speakers, and I love when former players are here. I'll have them talk to the team, and I had former player do chapel the other day, and I had one do one on the road. He was close by and they'll do the chapel, but then they also, hey, I want you to talk about us too, and being a player here. And I think I'm Coach Bianco. Mike Bianco this year at the ABCA convention, the national champion coach, always first speaker. And one of the things he said was he always had guest speakers, and I'm the same way. He said, but then I kind of got away from it, kind of got guarded, and he's like, I don't really know why. Maybe we just weren't having success when they would speak or whatever. And I was thinking, yeah, that's kind of, and then he started it back as they were struggling last year. He had them coming and going, and it was like it was resonating with the team. So I can 100% feel I've been there too. But I love, we actually brought a guy in a couple of weeks ago, spent a couple of days with us, just watched us, and then he met with the team, met with the coaches, met with the leaders, met with the guys that we need to get going. And it was awesome, man. To a man, I asked our guys, they were like, it was the greatest thing ever, Coach. That was awesome. I mean, just another voice and keeping it in perspective. So yeah, 100% on with the guest speakers, and any chance we have for that, I'm going to jump all over it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just wondering if that was just the first pitch banquet thing, or like I think guys are like you said, as you're going through adversity, you're trying to figure out you're fighting, and you're trying to find different ways to fight, and didn't know if that was also something you've probably worked on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Awesome. Yeah, coach. It's been great. I know you got practice and all, and we've been here almost an hour and a half. Um, just I guess just anything final, just kind of wrapping things up, like I guess for me the final thing is like it, this I guess the way that you are, and your philosophy on coaching, and like how has it evolved to this point? Is it been a steady, has it been a certain place, has it been a certain time in your life, or how has it kind of evolved and gotten to this point?
Yeah, I think you mature as a coach. I think one of the things I heard Cliff Godwin, I heard your podcast with him. I actually listened to it the other day. And I want to give you some credit because I actually texted Cliff after I listened to it, and they were going through a similar type year last year, as we are, very similar. A lot of the same stuff happened that to them that's happened to us, and they were kind of sitting there 500. They ended up hosting a super regional, and I'm sitting there listening to it on the bus, and I turn around to one of our assistants behind me. I'm like, give me a piece of paper now. I didn't have any paper with me, and I'm like taking notes from you and him. And I actually texted him and said, hey man, I just listened to this, your deal with Trey. I said, I just want you to know, man, you lifted me up. You guys, the stuff you talked about, I needed to hear. And so to you, I appreciate you. Don't think there are any people out there just listening to that podcast helped me. But I think I heard one thing he said. He's always been a hard charger, and that's me. I've known Cliff forever. I'm the same way. I mean, it's like, it ain't going good. I'm gonna try harder. I'm gonna push harder. And I think I had kids. I think, and my old players will tell you, you've gotten soft, coach. Well, I'll go back and play Southern Miss. They'll go, you gotten soft. And you know how players tell you, make
Oh
fun
yeah.
of you. I'm like, I probably have. You have your own kids, and you realize, wait a minute, somebody loves all these guys. I mean, there's somebody that loves them no matter what. It's their parents, and so that kind of hits you, and then it kind of helps you mature. And I just think as you get older and you kind of put things in perspective, man, it's with the help of people that's close to you. I remember years ago when I was my first year as a head coach at Northwestern, my wife, we were struggling 16-40. She said, you need to go talk to somebody, not a baseball coach. And so there was a basketball coach on campus, Mike McConaughey, all-time winningest coach, Louisiana history, college-wise, and a great Christian man, just salt of the earth, was a great player here at Louisiana Tech. And I just he had just gotten beat by Florida in the NCAA tournament round 1-16 matchup. I said, I know you don't want to talk to me, but anyway, he gave me a book as I'm leaving, and I said, great, another book. And that book changed my life, Walking with God, John Eldridge. And just having him, Butch Thompson said it when we, good friend of mine, you need to talk to the people going to cry at your funeral. Those are the people you need to lean on. And everybody needs a Paul, a Timothy, and Barnabas in their life, a mentor, somebody that's your friend right there that's seen you in the bad times, that don't care what you do for a living, and then somebody you can mentor. And I think I've taken all that to heart. And I think as you mature, you just get perspective and you realize, hey, one of the best pieces of advice I got this year is one of my good friends said, and the only social media I'm on is Twitter. He said, you need to get off social media now. And I did. I logged off and hadn't, but it's like made a difference. You're not seeing any negativity, and because at the end of the day, those voices don't really matter. It's the voices of, and I think I think maturity. I mean, as you get older and you become less selfish in your motives, I would hope. And it ain't. You realize, I heard Cliff say that too about all the rings, and but it is about relationships. It's about I turned 50 in December, and my wife put together this video, and you don't realize we're all blessed. And basically, she went back. She had friends from high school and players I've coached, whoever she could reach out to, and it was like a 5-minute video of just random people in my life telling me happy birthday, and if I meant anything in their life, I'm like, and I'm sitting there crying like a baby. It's like, my gosh, I didn't realize I knew this many people, much less they liked me. It's but I think it's just you keep it in perspective, man. At the end of the day, it's we're all in the same fight. We're all in the same battle. When you just try to get through the day, no matter what you're doing for a living, and you get up, you go to work, and you do the best you can, and you get up and do it again, and try to be the best version of you that you can be. And but yeah, no doubt, I think as you move through and navigate through your career, you learn so much about yourself and what you're doing. So yeah, and I'm still, like I told you earlier when we started the thing, I'm still trying to figure out stuff and learn stuff about myself, even here, probably on the backside of my career. You're still trying to be the best you can.
Huge shout out to Coach Burroughs and all the great things we got a chance to talk about. Just really loved just the realness of the conversation. Those are the guys that I just truly connect with. Feel really fortunate to be able to talk to. Inspires me to also be more transparent, be as real as I can, be authentic. And Coach Burroughs is another one of those guys. So really, really appreciate it, especially just taking some time here right in the middle of the season. Being real about, we go through that. The guys at every level that are going through, your team's going through a tough time right now. Or in your life, you're going through a tough time right now, and you're just being fully sometimes just being able to talk about it, talk through it, be vulnerable, being real is going to help us get through those tough times. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of how we're going to be remembered, how we dealt with those, how do we respond to when things weren't easy, to when it was hard, when it was tough. Really we're going to remember that conversation for sure. Hope you do as well. And as we continue just having great conversations and continue looking at how we can develop full person, full program, and enjoy just being surrounded by some great people. So, Coach Burroughs, really appreciate you. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you to the Netting Pros, our sponsor, Netting Pros, for helping us continue to spread the word. And until next time, keep getting better.